Hi, and welcome to the Ministry Path podcast, where we're finding mentors and meaningful practices along the ministry path. I'm your host, Danny Chan. I'm the Executive Secretary, Ministerial Director here at the Southern California Conference, and we're just wrapping up from 2025. This year, we began a journey of trying to create resources for pastors and ministry leaders in the local church and schools. And we're just wrapping up this year, trying to look back and to see how God has blessed us as we've partnered together along the ministry path. And on this journey, we've met some amazing people. And one of these people I'd like to introduce to you today. I have a guest. We always have a guest on our Ministry Path podcast, and today is no exception. I would like to introduce to you Kathleen. Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Kathleen, tell us your role here at Southern California Conference.
My role is I am the treasurer of the Southern California Conference.
Excellent. Well, you look very festive today. May I be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas?
I do, yes.
Right?
Same to you. Merry Christmas.
Yes.
'Tis the season.
This is a very special episode. We're wrapping up the year and we're thinking about Christmas and all of God's gifts. And certainly you're one of them because it's, as it turns out, you are the host of a podcast. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What is the name of your podcast and where can we find it?
Yes, so the name of the podcast, I always get confused with it because it has a very interesting sequence. It's Save It, Spend It, Share It.
Oh, okay.
And that was very intentional because the first thing that we promote in our podcast is how can you save more money? You know, how do you spend it wisely? And also, how do you share it with those that are around you? So
Okay.
that you can find our podcast in several platforms. I have to say the producer of this podcast is no other than Michelle Noland.
Yes,
And
amazing.
I
We
am-
share a producer.
We
so that's
do.
great.
We do. She's amazing.
She is
and She
amazing.
put together
We're so
the
grateful.
audio, the video, and she places this podcast in different platforms, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. So anywhere you can find podcasts to listen, you'll be able to find us there.
And you just search Save It, Spend It, Share It.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
excellent.
That's it. And you know, the other amazing thing is that the podcast recently won an award.
I know. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. We're official. This is historic for this podcast. We're hosting award-winning podcaster Kathleen Diaz.
Yes,
right?
that was so amazing.
Tell us about that. Where did you win this award?
Well, actually, the one that won the award, it's Michelle. But it was because of the work that she produced, you know,
Yes.
because it's a podcast that is very well put.
Yeah, well put
So-
together.
so-
I've listened to your podcast and it is very excellently put together. And there was a Society of Adventist Communicators and it received an award. So,
Correct.
So I'm a little jealous here. I'm gonna say, but no, congratulations to Michelle and to you
Yeah.
for collaborating together on this award-winning podcast. And so, as you're describing the podcast, it sounds like it's a really practical podcast. You're talking about things like saving money.
Correct. It is something that we wanted to develop a podcast that will be simple. Something that anyone can relate to because all of us struggle one way or another keeping up with our finances.
That's right. Yeah.
Either tracking expenses, either be able to save additional funds, saving for retirement. How can we actually plan our taxes ahead of time? So there's so many topics that we all share. It's for all demographics, for all cultures, for any age. Everyone, it's affected by finances.
That's true.
So all of us, we have a different concept on how we handle our finances. But there is some commonality of finding a space on how can we mix our beliefs with the way that we steward our funds.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because everyone, there's so much information about finances out there. But we also want to make sure that we input in that podcast how am I spending my money and it's connected with my beliefs? Because
Yeah.
we have all been given stewardship over many things in this world. We have been placed in this world to be in charge of our environment. We have been placed in this world to be wise with our finances, not only giving to others, but also the money that we retain, we also need to be wise in those funds.
Amazing.
How are we passing that knowledge to our kids? How are we passing that knowledge to other generations? So all of those topics are part of the podcast.
Wow. Save it, spend it, share it. And so that's refreshing. When I was thinking that you're doing a podcast, my first thought is like, wow, okay, she's the treasurer of our conference. She's going to be talking about institutional finances and like how to, the stewardship principles for institutions. But what you're telling me is the podcast is all about how we personally manage our own finances.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's something that we manage our funds on a daily basis, but we actually don't spend enough time educating ourselves. Sometimes we just start working, and because we're generating funds and we're kind of struggling along, and we say, well, this is how it's supposed to be, right? You earn your paycheck, you pay your bills, and you're done. There's nothing left. But what if actually there's more to that? What if there's actually a way that you can track your finances and find those spaces? It's amazing how the small expenses add up. That coffee that we buy every day, that small purchase that we go sometimes to a convenience store and it's right there at the end of the checkout, right? And then all of a sudden we see $1, $2, and we start grabbing stuff, and all of a sudden that becomes $10.
Yeah.
And all of those expenses, they start adding up.
Yeah.
And if we're not actually honest with ourselves, that is the way that we are misusing our funds and not being good stewards.
Wow. And then, of course, we all have subscriptions that we
forget.
That we forget we have,
Yes.
and that are kind of hard to track. And so, yeah, we're not utilizing things wisely. I know that I was listening to one of your episodes. I believe it's episode 4, where it talks about how to be financially grounded. And you talk about how AI is challenging money management. And then you shared a little bit about some helpful apps that help. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that is part of how simple things can make a difference. A lot of the times we think that we need to go to a financial advisor, or only if we have an excessive amount of wealth, then we would need to track down our expenses. But the reality is that no matter how much we're earning, there's always a better way to track our finances. There's several apps that are very helpful. We talked about some of them. Quicken has several products that they're very useful for just individuals, not only those that have a business, but actually are just individuals that they just are interested in tracking their funds. They have amazing products. Another way, it's that it's very easy. We all know that AI has different platforms, and one of the platforms is ChatGPT. You could use any of those platforms, but let's say that you have a project. One of the things that we talked about is right now we're almost at the beginning of the year, and we want to have $500 at the end of the year. Well, right now it's the time to start finding that space of saying, I get paid twice a month, starting January 1st. First, calculate how much do I have to save in order to have $500 at the end of the year. And we could start as little as that. Because when we think about it, $500, it's not that much, and I'm going to waste the whole year tracking down something. But actually what we are gaining is that we are producing a habit of saying, I want to take that vacation time in December, and it's going to be all paid for. So I'm going to start right now.
Yeah.
And any AI platform will do the calculation. this is the amount that you have to retain according to your pay schedule. This is how you're going to start saving per paycheck. And it starts tracking a habit in you. And later on the following year, you could say, hey, what if I save 10,000? What if I want to save, I don't know, I want to start understanding my retirement. How much do I need for my retirement? All those kind of things are questions that we can actually prompt ChatGPT and get some guidance.
Wow. And so you really get into depth on how to actually do that. In that episode, I was surprised to find that, if you want to save $500 for next Christmas, whether it's a trip or a gift, it only costs $19 per paycheck. So basically, you can set your account to take out $19. Like $19, anyone can afford $19, right?
And it's $19 that we spend somewhere else.
So what I'm hearing is that your podcast is just on practical matters. You're giving common sense advice. You're not trying to sell a product or something. You're just kind of sharing. And it's not just you. You have some guests that come on the show. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we've had amazing guests that come into our program, and they share a little bit of what they actually do for a living in some instances. We've had CPAs, we've had trust directors, we've had pastors guiding us through the process of being good stewards. So all of the guests that we've had, they share something that they do on a daily.
Yeah. And so I was listening to one of the episodes, and Jim Brown, I think,
Correct.
was the one who said that you were also talking about not just day-to-day living, but you're also talking about topics far into the future.
Yeah.
Topics that we don't like to talk about.
Correct.
How do you plan for the end, right? And he said something that really struck me. He said that anyone above 18 years or older should have an estate plan. Is that correct? Really?
Yes.
Even as early as 18?
Yeah, that's correct. We talk about why we should plan and how to develop a plan. But one of the key elements of that is that as soon as you are old enough to have ownership of some of your assets, basically, you need to prepare that at any moment, if you die, who will be in possession of those assets. And you can start so to avoid any complications, such as going through probate or attorney fees and so on, sometimes you can set it up in a way that you already have it in writing. And not only in terms of your assets, also when it comes to life directives. Previous to that episode, we also talked about life directives and how a lot of the times when patients are in the hospital and they're no longer conscious, the ones that have to make the hard decision is the family. And by having a plan, you're actually saving that emotional moment to your family.
Wow. That's kind of a gift to
It
your
is a
family.
gift. It is a gift to your
Preparation,
family.
right?
Yes, because I was not sure if I wanted to do the episode because I don't like talking about death. It makes me feel uncomfortable, to be honest.
Most of us.
But as I was doing the episode and I was listening to Pastor Mark Wittes, which was the first episode related to the leaving a legacy, he said, actually, you are giving a gift. You're giving a gift to those that are around you. Because you are preparing yourself. You are leaving everything as you would want things to be done. And I shared a little bit that when my dad passed away, it was a question of, are we going to bury him or would he like to be cremated? And, as daughters, we told our mom, you make the decision. We'll give you that right to make that decision. But at the same time, now that I think in a different way, that must be hard for you to have to decide for someone else.
Right.
And of course, she knew what he wanted, But it would have been better that she didn't have to make that choice.
Right.
That choice was already done and say, this is what I would like to do. So we talk about several of those items.
That's very practical stuff. This is stuff that we could all benefit from. And it sounds like you're consulting with people who are very knowledgeable about these things and just sharing that knowledge. So basically, who would you say is your target audience, and what is the goal of who are you trying to reach?
I'm trying to reach a wide range of age because I think that finances, everyone needs to hear about it. And no matter where you are in life, there's always a better practice that we can implement in our lives. And we actually kind of target during the episode different approach of where you are in life. For example, in the trust services, we talk, well, how would a family that just started develop a plan of trust versus someone that it's more likely in retirement? What's the difference between those two and what are their options?
Oh, so you're addressing multiple
So
ones.
we are addressing multiple. Also, we talked about taxes, parents that have children that start working, which, you don't know that you're actually going to pay more taxes because now your kids, they're still dependents and now they're earning, but not enough to go to the threshold, right?
Wow.
So, or if could be that they are above the threshold, you are no longer going to be claiming them as a dependent.
Wow. Yeah, I don't even know
because of that.
what age that is, and I should know because my kids are getting there. Again, this is
Yeah,
practical
yeah.
stuff. This is free advice that you're getting in this amazing podcast. And especially like when kids come into the picture. I know we have a lot of young listeners who are part of the Ministry Path podcast, and some of them have younger children. And I remember the first when we set up a will. So our listeners should know that we do have planned giving services in our conference. Is there a fee for those services?
So that's a great question. We do have a department for trust services that we do a variety of products, if we could call them that way. We develop wills, trust, charitable gift annuities, and some others. And all of them are part of the services that we offer to our members in Southern California Conference.
Okay.
Because we want them to make sure that they are protected. And also, when they are setting up their trust, we also ask them, would you like to include the church in this trust? Why the church? Because the church is a ministry that's supported by donors. And the legacy that they're living goes beyond our time on this earth. I've had several experiences that donors did not know how important their gift was going to be to Southern California Conference. They had a great life and they considered living a portion to Southern California Conference. Why? Because we also understand that you have needs as family. You also want to give to your children, to your grandkids, and so on. And we want to make sure that you are protected in that sense, to make sure that everything is processed accordingly and transferred to your beneficiaries. But at the same time, if you would like to leave a legacy to the church, that would be the right moment. And many times those gifts come in a time of need. And a great experience was around 3 years ago. We received a mature trust that was for around $325,000. And it was a portion, that was a partial distribution from a trust, but it was intended to go to ADRA. That year was the year that the Ukraine war had developed or started.
Right.
And those funds helped to support families in need in Ukraine. So you see what an impact it is.
Yeah.
That you develop a trust. You were thinking just in supporting the mission as a general, but God had a different intention.
Yeah.
That those funds were received in a moment of need.
Wow. So that reminds me of another time, as you and I have been serving together, I remember that there was a critical moment where a bill was due, and we didn't know how we were going to pay the bill. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was also an amazing experience. We were together in a meeting and
Hmm.
we were discussing the need of paying off a bill, partially paying off a bill. And there was a demand for payment that we needed to comply with. And we said, well, let's vote to withdraw those funds from a savings account.
Hmm.
And that always puts us in a tough position
Right.
because our cash decreases and, we don't have enough funds to support our ministry for a very long time.
Hmm.
Um, so we took the vote and we ended our meeting like around 12.
Hmm.
I went out for lunch. And when I was at lunch, I received an email. I saw an email popping in and I read the email. When I opened the email, it said, "You have received a partial distribution. Please see attachment."
That was the same day.
That was the same day, like half an hour, maybe tops, after we have taken the vote and we have prayed for it. So I go to lunch, I open up this email, and I see on the body of the email saying, "Please see attachment. You have received a mature trust for a partial distribution." To my surprise, when I open up the attachment, I could not believe that it was the exact amount that we
Wow.
needed to satisfy that bill.
Wow. What was just voted earlier that
That
day.
had just been voted that we were going to need some additional funds. So,
And these things take weeks or months
yes,
to develop, right?
yeah, and sometimes we don't know that they're coming in. We don't know the amounts.
Hmm.
We don't know the donor's wishes.
Yeah.
There's several components that we don't know.
And this one came at the exact same
Exactly,
day that we needed
exactly,
it the most.
exactly. And
Amazing.
it
Amazing.
is
God
it
is
is
good.
it is a testament of faith.
Hmm.
And I can't. I always go back to thinking about the manna. You
Mm.
know, they had to receive it daily.
Mm.
It was not a week in advance. It was not 3 days, with the
Yeah.
exception of the Sabbath. But basically, it was a daily trust in God.
Oh, wow.
And that's how our
He
finances should
he
be.
only gave them enough just for that day,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Wow. So you've been able to see miracles, and
Yes.
it's amazing how sometimes our planned giving can contribute to the way that God is meeting needs, even months or years beyond where we set these things up. Um, I remember that I was looking at our will and trust, because our family we have a family trust that was set up through the Southern California Conference, and it was such an amazing, super seamless process. They were very, very helpful, and we had complete discretion as to where the money would go within our conference, and it was just very helpful. And when I looked at the date of when we set that up, it was when our children were little,
Mm.
and we were taking a trip overseas without them, and I think that um, it was at a very critical time where it was important for us when we were taking a trip. We wanted to make sure that our children, that everything about our what we owned
Yeah.
was in order, and it would be distributed in the way that we would want. And believe me, the peace of mind that gave us before we took our trip, we couldn't put a value on it. And so as we have kids, that's one of the things that I would like to share. I know that you guys have talked about in your podcast, is that nobody with kids should be without
Correct.
some form of will. It doesn't have to, it doesn't matter where they get it done. But that's important, right? Can you talk about
Yes.
the importance of that, especially if you have kids?
Yeah, it's important because, like I mentioned, it's not only about assets. It's not only things that you own. It's a lot of other items that can be included.
Hmm.
Life directives. Who's going to be the trustee of making sure that your instructions are carried, basically.
Right.
Who would take care of your kids in the case
Yeah.
that both of you are absent? So there's many things that can be included in that document.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're actually giving a gift for those that you love, because you're actually making plans on how things should be done.
Yeah. And there's never a perfect time. We think about, oh, okay, I'll do this when I have time. We will never have time to get our affairs in order, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so these are just encouragements. Anyone listening, let's make time and let's protect our families. And like you said, in this season of giving, that is Christmas and all that, what an amazing gift that would be for
Yes.
our listeners to make sure that their affairs are in order, so to speak. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen, for being with us here today. I just wanted to take an opportunity to invite this award-winning podcaster to
Yay.
be with us and to share with us, because I know there may be a group of listeners to our podcast that weren't aware that we had such a practical and such a great podcast that could really, really be informative. And please consider subscribing to Save It, Share It, Spend It, and share with somebody who may be a part of who may benefit from it. And one last thing we'd like to say is, Kathleen, what is it that makes these podcasts possible? Like, we have this amazing studio. Sometimes we show the behind the scenes. We have a place that we're constantly creating content. What has made the studio possible?
Yeah, that's something that I would like to highlight and give thanks to each one of our donors, because all this has been made possible because of the generosity of our donors.
That's right.
3 years ago, this dream started developing and this space was not utilized. So we had to upgrade everything in this space. From painting of the walls, restructuring the space, bringing furniture, equipment, videos, hiring an individual that will be able to edit the videos and the audio. So it's been a great effort that has been done in collaboration, Southern California Conference, with all of its donors. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you very, very much for making this space possible.
Excellent. And that's a great way we're going to finish off this year. It's been a great year of collaborating and joining together. Thank you to all our donors, and thank you for taking time to listen and to share about these podcasts with someone who might benefit from it. Thank you so much. May you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we can't wait to see you at our next episode beginning in 2026.